Well, hi and welcome. This is your first lesson here on the 30X program. Ready to build your business? We got 30 minutes together today to make sure that you get application and business growing and things happening in your company. What we're going to cover today is the ladder of wealth, how business is supposed to build you wealth and not just cash flow. Yeah, cash flow is real important. Profitability is real important. But building an asset, a business that you can sell, something that's worth something that other people will want to buy is the ultimate goal. You know, it wouldn't be worth the risk of owning your own business if you didn't get paid twice. Paid once in the profitability of what you get, maybe even a third time paid for the salary of the work you do within the business. But third and most important is being paid for the value of the asset that you create. Now, how do we get there? Well, many years ago, I wrote a book called Billionaire in Training. If you haven't read it, you might want to pick it up. And what we teach in there is the ladder of how we actually build business success, where we start. Because your entrepreneurial journey, you as an entrepreneur, starts out actually well before you think it does. Learning to be in business for yourself and learning to grow your own business starts from school. Now, how does that actually work? Well, let me take you through the levels. See, at school, as a student, you're at level -1 as an entrepreneur, okay? Level -1, where you're learning, you're an apprentice employee. Now, understand that. The job of school is your apprenticeship. It's an apprenticeship to getting a job. So school's preparation is getting a job. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, it doesn't teach you to be a business owner. It doesn't teach you to be someone that runs a business. It teaches you to be good at the job of the business. So, you go out, you work as a student, you do all that work, you pay the money to be a student, it costs you time, energy, and effort to be a student. Now, gradually, as you graduate from student levels and your apprenticeship ends, you step up to level 0. That's right. You become an employee. At employee, you're at level 0. See, here your job is to basically pay back the costs of you being a student. Yeah, student loans or pay taxes so the government that paid for you to be a student. Now, what is your job as an employee? And here's where it's real important. Your job as an employee is you're an apprentice business owner. What does that mean? You got to do a bunch of different jobs to learn how to be a good business owner. Now, the problem for most employees, and in fact most business owners, and maybe even you, is that what happened is you did one type of job the whole time before you started your own business. Like, you might have been a hairdresser and all you did was cut hair. Yeah, you may have worked in different salons, you may have worked in management, but all you did was hairdressing. Never did you have a job in sales or marketing, or did you have a job in finance or legals or any of that sort of thing. And these are the things you're going to need to know to be a good business owner. See, the idea of owning your own business, and I want you to write this down. Take notes on every one of these sessions, by the way, gang. What I want you to understand is that the definition of a business, or my definition, Brad Sugar's definition, is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. We're going to go into more detail on that on session 2 tomorrow, but understand this. The idea is to build a business that works so you don't have to build an asset that is saleable, to build something that makes you money whether you get out of bed or not. The challenge with going into business for yourself, having been an employee, is that what you've learned how to do is to work hard, how to do the job of the business, not to run the business of the business or the profit center of the business. So as an employee, I had a distinct advantage over many, and that was I was not a good employee. In fact, I was able to move jobs on a fairly regular basis. What does that mean? Yeah, I got fired a lot, all right? That's fine. My resume did not look good relative to most people. Most people want a resume that reads, 4 years here, 5 years there, doing all these things. My resume read I got moved on from job to job. But I had jobs in sales, selling advertising for magazines and newspapers. I had jobs in operations. I worked in a pipe manufacturing company. I worked in gardening companies. I had jobs with communication. I worked at DJing, mobile DJing when I was in college. Now that was fun. But also I worked in supermarkets being the announcer of specials and things. So I was learning all the time. I had jobs in accounting. Obviously, I had my degree and my qualifications are in accounting from back in the day. But the point of it is, by having jobs in all of these different areas, it set me up for being a business owner far better than if I'd only had one job. I remember one of my clients years ago in engineering, and he said to me, Brad, I should be good at this. I've had 20 years engineering experience. I said, no. You've had 1 year's business experience that you did 20 times in a row. See, ultimately, as a business owner, you got to be good at all aspects of the business. And learning to be that employee or learning as an employee costs a lot less than when you get to it yourself. See, once you're self-employed, once you move up to level 1, self-employed, what happens is that at that point you've got to learn everything. Now, if you've learned a bunch while being an employee, it saves you time, energy, and money once you're in business for yourself. See, it costs less to learn when someone else is paying you to learn, like when you have a job in sales and someone's paying you to go to sales training courses. That's a lot cheaper than learning sales by messing them up in your own business. So keep that in mind as to where and what you've learned. So that brings you to the point of this. See, the reason that growing a business is hard, especially your first business, is you don't know what you're doing. You know, why is your first $1 million the hardest $1 million to make? Because you haven't done it before. See, when you're learning something new, running a business, building a business, and you're trying to do the work in the business the whole time, that becomes a challenge. So we step up to level 1, self-employed. And I know that you've probably been through that phase, or you're in the middle of that phase right now, where it's just you. You're in business, it's you running the business, you taking out the trash, you making the sales, you doing all those things. Well, at that level, you're on, well, I like to think you're on the seesaw. You know, it's find the work, do the work, make a sale, do the work, make the sale, do the work. It's the seesaw of business. And people wonder why they're tired at this level. In fact, you know, the statistics around the world vary, but not by much. It's said about 80% of businesses fail at this level. Now, it's not really they fail. What happens is the business owner says, you know what, to heck with this, I'm going to go back and get a job. It's just easier if I go back and get a job. This working for myself is too hard. Why? Well, A, you got to do all the work. You got to do everything yourself. B, you got to keep inventing new stuff. See, when you first start out, you might love your product or your service, but that doesn't mean you got the marketing right or the sales right or any of the systems right. You've got to build all of that while you're building the rest of it. That's why often I recommend for people starting out in business to buy an existing one or even buy a franchise, because then you don't have to learn everything in the first go. See, as a self-employed person, you think about what it is you've got to know. You got to know sales, marketing, operations. You got to know delivery of the product. You got to know purchasing, accounting, finance. You name it, you've got to become good at it. Not great at it, but at least good enough to know how to hire someone who's good at it or great at it type thing. So at the self-employed level, what happens is you're making a sale, you do the work. You make the sale, you do the work. And the business really challenged because you're spending time making the sale, and that means you don't get to do the work. And then once you've made the sale, you do the work. And then, like, hang on, the momentum's all gone. It's like you're the one person on a seesaw by yourself type thing. You're going up and down on the seesaw, and you're wondering why it's not working. Well, you know, ultimately, gang, the level of learning. And over these next 30 days, you're going to go through the learning process that took me 30 years to get. So every day, commit to your 30 minutes a day to make sure this happens. Now, from self-employed, we move up to the manager level. This is where you start to employ other people. Now, a lot of times, I'm not sure why, but a lot of business owners seem to think that, hey, I've employed some people, this should get easier. When in fact, when you employ people, it actually does the opposite. Now you got more people who make mistakes. In fact, a lot of the time when I find people that are business owners and they've employed a bunch of people, they're thinking, how did this get harder? How did this get worse? How did this get more? Well, there's more complexities now. You've got multiple people in the organization. You've got people to train, people to work with. So what do you got to learn when you get to that level? Well, you've gotten off the seesaw and now you're on the merry-go-round. You're running round and round in circles, putting out fires. They start. And I know that's not funny, but, well, it is kind of funny, but it's not really funny if you're stuck in that situation where you've hired people and you thought, hey, this should get easier, when in fact it gets harder. It's like most people, when they have a bunch of employees or their first 4 or 5 employees, firstly, you're no good at hiring people. What have you got to learn to be good at the manager level? Well, what you got to learn is recruiting people, hiring people, training people, systemization, cash flow management, business planning, systemization of all business processes, checklists, all these different aspects of learning that come with having employees. Now, if you don't know how to hire a good employee, chances are the first 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 that you hire are not going to be great employees. I still remember as a kid, I think I was about 20 or 21, and I turned to my dad and I said, you know what, Dad? I just can't get any good people. And my dad was an experienced business manager, and he looked at me and he said, hey, Brad, you get the people you deserve. You're an average manager running an average business. The highest caliber of employee you're going to get is average. Yeah, not fun to learn, but hey, I had to learn that. If Dad hadn't have sat me down and really explained to me the fact that I needed to be a great leader and run a great business in order for great people to want to work for me, I had to learn these things, gang. Same as you're learning them now, I had to learn them, but I got a lot more through trial and error, which, trust me, trial and error is the most costly. Reading books, watching videos like this, learning from experienced mentors or coaches, far better methodology than if I'm standing there doing it all and learning it by trial and error. So you get to the manager level, you got to learn all those different aspects. And again, we're going to go through that over the next 30 days and make sure you learn all these different aspects so you can put them into practice. What happens then is our goal is to move up to level 3, the owner. See, at the owner level, what we're actually doing at that level is saying we've now built a business that works whether we show up or not. Now, what does that look like? It looks like a business where you might attend a board meeting once a month or a meeting once a week type thing. The business runs without you. That's the ultimate goal of any business. Now, of course, I've met many business owners over the years who say, well, I'm not sure the business can run without me. That's the point. You've set the business up in a way where it's built around you rather than around systems and processes and other people doing the business work. Business is not spelt busyness. It's about building something that works whether you show up or not. So to get to that owner level, what sort of things do you need to learn? Well, see, at manager level, you got to learn management. To get to owner, you got to learn leadership. You've got to learn the ability to let go, to hand over the business. You got to have management processes. You got to have leadership processes. Full business planning is got to be learned. All of these different aspects so you can step back, trust that the business will work. Now, why is this important? This is important for 3 reasons. Number 1, your sanity. Okay, knowing that there is a goal at the end where the business will work without you. In fact, here's your first job on this whole program. I want you to start thinking and setting a date. By what date will you finish your current business? Now, by finish, let me define that. I gave you my definition of a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. When the business is finished, it basically means you can take a 6-month vacation, you can go anywhere in the world, and you don't have to answer phone calls every day or emails every day. Maybe once a month you log into a board meeting or something along those lines. That's a finished business. So I want you to start thinking about setting a date somewhere 3, 7, 10 years from now. Now, why do I say 3, 7, and 10? If you already got a good solid business, it should take somewhere between 1 and 3 years to get it to run without you, okay? To build your team, to build them up, to extract yourself from the day-to-day running of the business. If you're just starting out, probably more like 7 to 10 years to get yourself to that point. So somewhere in that bracket, you're going to set a date by which the business will be finished. Now, what I want you to do is not just set a date. I want you to think about what should the business look like when it's finished. If you go back and read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey's amazing bestseller, one of the major points he makes, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is they start with the end in mind. So what is the end of your business going to look like? Don't just think of your business as a lifetime trap. Think about your business in terms of how do I build it so that it works so I don't have to? By what date will that happen? What size will the business be when that happens? What will the revenues be? How much will I have in profits per year? How many people will the business have? How many offices or shops or stores or warehouses or what size? How many countries will the business be in? Now, I know this is big thinking for a lot of people, but for some of you, this is exactly where you're at, and you got to make sure that you're thinking in this methodology going forward. Set a date by which the business will work without you. And at that point in time, we can start getting excited about what it is we're aiming to build. See, I remember learning this, IBM, Tom Watson said, we got a picture in our minds of IBM, what it looked like when we finished. And then we went to work on the business, not in the business. Michael Gerber brought up a real interesting point in his book, The E-Myth. When Gerber said the goal of a business is to work on it, not in it. See, as an entrepreneur, your job is to build something that works without you, to build an asset. That means you got to work not just in the business, doing the day-to-day of the business, but gradually you got to do more owner's work, okay? What is owner's work in a business? See, employees' work is the work that you do it once and you get paid just once. Owner's work is the work where you do it once and you get paid long-term or forever. So think of the distinct differences between these two. Employees' work, like let's stick with hairdressing because everyone kind of understands hairdressing. If you go into the hairdressing business and all you do is cut hair every day, you're working in the business. If, however, you are building marketing, training your staff, this is working on the business, building systems, planning. So this is long-term payback stuff. And ultimately, if you want to build a business that works without you, you got to gradually move from doing just that in the business work to more and more on the business work. Owner's work is work that pays us back long-term or forever. Owner's work is stuff that we actually build an asset, not just a cash flow. Now, in the beginning, I remember when I first started, even this business, Action Coach, dang, I was the only one doing the coaching. I was the only one doing everything. That was the case. I had to gradually work on the business. Now, my working on the business happened early mornings, late nights, weekends. I built my cash flow during the day and my asset at night and in the mornings. And sometimes that's going to have to be the case. Working on out of hours and working in during hours. That was my business strategy. I knew it. I was young and I could afford the time, I guess, so I worked my butt off to make sure that that was what was happening. So we get to level 3 owner. The business now runs without us. We now have an actual asset, something that's saleable, something that other people can buy from us. We've reached level 3 of the entrepreneurial ladder. It's then time to say, okay, now we got to step up. Level 4. Now, this is where you take your knowledge and start investing. Now, investing is a whole different ball game to business. See, business is about cash flow. Investing is about capital. Yes, it needs cash flow, but it also needs capital. Now, why do I bring this up on a course about how to grow your current business? Because the reason that we're in business is not just to make enough money to pay the bills. See, too many business owners, every day they go into work thinking, how do I pay the bills? How do I pay the bills? I got to make this much money to make sure I pay the bills. The reality is, if your goal is just to pay the bills, that's all you get. Your goal has to be something greater than that. Your goal has to be about to make a profit. What amount of profit do you want to make? How much profit do you need to make per week, per month? You got to set these goals in place so that you've got to make sure your business is running more than just paying the bills. Any business where, unfortunately, I've met many business owners who are struggling with even just paying the bills, and they're sitting there thinking, dang, this is just not going to work for me. I'm not sure I can pay all these bills and stuff. The reality of it is you've got to focus on something far greater than that. And that's why I want to teach you right now up front where it is that you're going, where it is the long-term plan with this thing. Understanding that the goal is not just to build a job that revolves around you that keeps you busy every day. The goal is to build a business that works so you don't have to. A business that throws off excess profitability so that you as the owner can invest that money. See, the goal with money is pretty simple. Make the money, invest the money, use the returns to repeat the system. Okay, you don't live off of your cash flow and spend your cash flow on your toys. You invest your money into other things, and therefore you get to buy the toys based on the return of the investments. So at level 4 investor, you got to learn to invest in 3 things. Businesses, how to buy, build, and sell companies. Then you got to learn real estate and you got to learn shares. There's 3 classes of investments. Now, what makes something an investment? Pretty simple. It has both cash flow and capital gain. If it's got cash flow and capital gain, it's a great investment. So think about your current business as an investment. How are you using your business to make it an investment for you and your family? Are you building an asset with your business, or are you just building cash flow? As we get into the nitty-gritty over the next 30 days of the actual strategies and steps you need to put in place, having that firm date in mind of when you're going to finish the business, having it in mind of where you want to invest your money further. And if you haven't, please sign up for my 30 times wealth program as well. Make sure you're on that program, and the 30 times personal growth program. It's hard to grow a business if we don't grow ourselves. My dad said to me many years ago, he said, Brad, in business, your business will grow to your level of incompetence. The moment you run out of ideas, the business stops growing. Thanks, Dad. Another great lesson. As you can tell, my dad was kind of a dry human being who made sure I understood the point real quick. So we get to level 4, investor. We're investing our money into deals. Ultimately, then we want to go to level 5, the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is raising capital. The entrepreneur is bringing in other people's ideas, other people's time, other people's money, putting it together and creating great deals that build amazing businesses out there in the marketplace. See, as you step through these different levels and realize that I've got to learn a whole bunch, and if I could be really blunt, the hardest work in business is not the doing work. The hardest work in business is the learning work. The amount of learning we have to do about ourselves, about business, about management, about leadership, that, my friends, is the tough stuff. It's not the doing work that's hard. The going to work and showing up for 40, 50, 60, even 80 hours a week. We entrepreneurs, we're the crazy people that'll work 80 hours a week for ourselves just so we don't have to do 40 hours a week for someone else. We're kind of crazy like that. But what needs to be said is this: if we commit to the learning, if you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, commit to the learning, then your business will continually grow. It can't outgrow your knowledge base. And so, I hate to put it bluntly, but you've got to keep learning and growing. I was lucky enough to have a mentor when I was very young. I met a man by the name of Jim Rohn, E. James Rohn. Mr. Rohn has unfortunately passed away now, but he was probably the best business philosopher that I ever met. And some of the things that I learned from Mr. Rohn, very important. In fact, I'll give 3 of them to you now, and I'd like you to write them down. Number 1 thing he said to me, and it's very important as you grow through this journey to understand this, is never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. Never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. Now, when Mr. Rohn said that, I wrote it down. It didn't really make a lot of sense. I was only 16 when I learned that, but gradually over life, I've learned that, hey, never wish sales were easier. Wish that you were better at sales. Never wish that, managing people were easier. Get better at managing people. And that's where Mr. Rohn backed it up with his second statement. He said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, what does he mean by that? Well, hang on. If I combine those 2 statements, if I learn more, if I get better, life gets easier. It's not complex. So if I work hard on me, I get better, therefore the business gets easier. And these next 30 days is really about that for you. It's about you growing and you learning. But on top of that, I ran down to Mr. Rohn after the event and I had him sign my notes. And I said, Mr. Rohn, I'm a 16-year-old young boy. Is there anything you can tell me that'll guarantee I'll be successful? He said, son, real simple. Read a book a week for the rest of your life. I'm sitting there thinking, a book a week? Do you know how much I got to read for school and all that? But I committed to it. I read a book a week. I'm now 47, still a book a week since I was 16 years of age. Think about the thousands of books that I've read and the knowledge that I've been able to glean from them. See, if you outlearn me, you can out-earn me. You cannot earn more than you've learned. And this is what the whole process of becoming a billionaire in training, the whole process of the 30X program is for you to learn enough that you can grow your business, for you to learn enough that you can grow yourself, grow your team, and increase the profitability in the bottom line of your business. When I was about 31 or 32, I forget what age, I was lucky enough to be one of the opening acts speaking on stage with Mr. Rohn, and he was out back in the green room, and I got my old notes, and I showed them to him, and I said, hey, Mr. Rohn, I'd love to show you my notes from when I was 16. He said, wow, these are great notes. Please call me Jim. I said, yes, Mr. Rohn. Some people earn the right to be Mr., not just Jim. And when you start thinking about your knowledge base growing, and I'm not talking about your knowledge base of your industry, okay? If you're an engineer, yes, you got to keep up with the latest engineering stuff. But what about management? What about leadership? What about marketing and sales that you need to learn? These are some of the things and the aspects of it. So our work that we got to do based on today's session is very, very simple. Okay. Firstly, we have to understand, and I would highly suggest rewatching this video, even watching it with a friend or with a family member who you want to come on this journey with you. When you got to start thinking about where are the areas of knowledge that I have a gap, okay? Where are the areas of knowledge in business that I have a gap? Maybe I'm great at the doing of the work, but I'm no good at the sales or no good at the marketing or no good at the finance aspect. I'm not sure where you've got a gap, but identify your gaps in knowledge. Identify the gaps in where you need to learn how to move up this ladder. Then you got to sit down and start planning. How do I move up the ladder? Because see, the move from student to employee, it's a big move. You get it. It's emotionally different. You've got to think different. You got to learn different. The move from employee to self-employed, let me tell you why most people at self-employed fail. They never actually become self-employed. They still think like an employee. They're still waiting for someone to tell them what to do, waiting for someone to give them permission to go and do stuff. When you're self-employed, you got to be self-driven. You got to make your own decisions. Think about those 5 things you've been putting off that you know you should be doing. You're the owner of the business. The buck stops with you. Now, the problem is you're not only the owner of the business, but you're also the CEO. If you're the owner and the CEO, generally there's a pretty good chance you're doing a bad job at both of those. Because, see, the owner turns to the CEO and says, did you do a good job today? The CEO says, yeah, I did an amazing job today. And you're both lying to each other, okay? If you as the owner hired someone else to be CEO of the business, I guarantee you would be tougher on them than you are on yourself. See, when you move up from employee to self-employed, you've got to understand that the buck stops with you. You are the one who has to learn the things. You are the one who has to understand it and grow. You can't just hope that someone else will come along and magically do this. Now, when you move from self-employed to manager, here's the challenge. You've got to grow a whole bunch because now you've got to become a leader. You've got to become a manager of people. You've got to learn these different aspects. And again, the reason why most people fail is that they're great at being self-employed. Now, what are some of the tasks of someone who's self-employed? Well, someone who's stuck at self-employed level is someone who says things like, well, if you want the job done right, you got to do it yourself. Or, yeah, nobody can do it as good as me. There's a reason no one can do it as good as you. You haven't trained them to do it as good as you. You haven't written systems for them to do it as good as you. You hired someone who is not as good as you. See, when I'm looking to hire people, I want to hire someone who's overqualified, who knows more about it than I do, someone who's better at that job than me, because otherwise, if I'm better at it than they are, I got to keep doing it. Or I got to train them, I got to manage them, I got to coach them to learn that stuff. See, the manager is not someone who is thinking, I have to do the job. The manager is someone who's thinking, how do I get this job done profitably with my team? How do I get my team to do this? How do I hire someone and still make a profit on this task or on this job or on this product? Ultimately, team, the reason why we see challenges in moving up the ladder is both emotional and skill. There's a skill set that needs to be learned through this process. And again, at self-employed, identify, or at manager, identify where are the gaps in yours. It could be business planning. It could be business systemization. Again, we're going to learn all this over the next 30 days. But I want you to do some self-analysis based on this first session. Where do I want to be and where am I now? Because over these 30 days, we're going to put together a program for you to develop the business. But what we need to be is real clear on where am I right now? And where is my business at right now? Not just thinking about where it's at, but actually knowing this is where I'm at. Put pen to paper. Sit down tonight, sit down today, and actually put pen to paper. Where am I now and where do I want to be? Where is my current revenues and my current profitabilities and where do I want them to be? When do I want to finish this business by? How will it look when it's finished? These are some of the questions that if you can answer these today, all of the rest of the learning will make the plan or putting together the plan far easier and far simpler for you. Ultimately, when I sit down with someone and I take them through this journey, the journey is one of learning, but the journey is one of growing the business. And as the owner, grow, my business grows too. So my investment in you today is about investing in you learning, in you growing, so that you understand where the business is going. Once you're great at running a business, a great business will come because great people want to work with you. Great people want to work for you. And as they come and join your team, you build an amazing business. So 3 last lessons we need to understand on this first part of our learning and our journey. Number 1, and I'll be very, very clear with you on this. Literally tens of thousands of business owners before you have gone ahead and made the same stupid errors I made, the same stupid errors you're making. We all make mistakes. Guess what? As long as it doesn't kill the business or kill us, it's fine. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made in business. What matters is that you're willing to learn and grow and correct those mistakes. During this next 30 days, you may make a mistake or two, but that's okay. Keep the learning, keep growing, keep understanding it. When I get to the sales, when I get to the marketing teaching, when I get to the systemization and all of that, how to hire and recruit great people, all of these lessons will come full circle so that you understand how to grow your business. Be okay with where you're at, but be ready to grow and be excited about the growth that is coming your way over the next 30 days and beyond that, of course. Second last thing that we need to touch on before we finish out our day today. There is homework every single day we finish these sessions. There is going to be stuff you need to do to get your business to the next level. I called my company Action Coach for a reason. Not because of theory, not because of anything else. It's the actions you take that make the difference, that make a massive difference for your business. And finally, I'm here as your coach. I'm here to work with you. There's a whole generation of people gone before you. You can reach out and ask for help. Remember, as you grow your business, you don't need to know it all yourself. You can find a coach. You can find a mentor. You can find other business owners to work with. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with other business people. Sit with them, talk with them, learn with them. Ultimately, the 30X program is going to grow your business, but it's also going to grow your network. I want you to get to know a bunch more business owners who are already succeeding, and they're out there and willing to help you. Take care. Enjoy. I'll see you again tomorrow. Get to that homework. Let's go.